I have this abs pillow. I gotta kinda grope and hug it to fall asleep at night. The other night, I stumbled out of bed to pee and somehow ended up in my landlord's son's room. Total brain fart. I crawled into bed, did my usual routine, yanked up the pillow shirt, and started going to town on those fake abs. Then, this husky voice rumbles from above me. You done yet? You're gonna get a reaction out of me. I got home from work, and there's this seriously tall, seriously hot dude chilling on my couch. I live alone. My first thought was, oh crap, someone broke in. I'm halfway back out the door to go get Mrs. Henderson, my landlady who lives next door. But damn, this guy was hot. Broad shoulders, long legs, like he was carved out of marble. I mean, come on, I'm only human. I paused, took another look. Then I realized, no burglar just hangs out drinking tea like he owns the place, right? The way he was acting, you'd think he lived here. But Mrs. Henderson never mentioned she was renting any other rooms out in the house. Plus, he had this don't mess with me vibe. Didn't look like the talkative type. So, I turned around, figuring I'd go get Mrs. Henderson and clear things up. I barely got my foot out the door when this voice calls out, hold it right there. I turned back and hesitantly asked, who are you? Why are you in my house? The guy just chuckled, all low and smooth, picked up his teacup with his elegant fingers and took a sip. Then he leaned back, looking all amused, and says, you sure this is your house? Yeah, last time I checked, I left for work, and my house is still my house. I stood there, clutching my bag, feeling totally lost. His house. Just as I'm trying to wrap my head around this, Mrs. Henderson comes barreling out of her apartment, chewing on a chunk of sugarcane. She takes one look at my confused face, then pulls me behind her and points the sugarcane like a weapon at the hot dude. She says, did you say something mean to my girl here? Don't you go being a jerk. You haven't been here in ages. She needed a place to live. What's the big deal? The hot dude seems like he can't believe what he's hearing. He stands up and says, Mom, this is the house I bought to live in after I get married. You just rented it out without even asking? My future marital home? Being lived in by someone else? How does that make any sense? Mrs. Henderson paused, realizing she might have messed up. She started stammering. Well, you might not find anyone to marry for all I know. Are you even dating anyone? What makes you think you will get married? The dude just kinda stared at her. He plopped back down on the couch, like, I'm done arguing, and said, I don't care. It's my place. It's for me and my future wife. Then, he jerked his chin towards me. What's she doing here? A total stranger? Mrs. Henderson just crossed her arms. You got lucky, she says. I could practically feel the dude's glare burning a hole in me. If looks could kill, I'd be dust. Mrs. Henderson keeps going. She's kept this place clean as a whistle. If not for her, you'd be walking into a swamp. You'd need 3 days to clean this place to be able to drink your tea, right now. That made me a little guilty. Because cleaning this place? Not me. The hot dude raised an eyebrow. I pay for a cleaning service every week. She should know. Oh, that made sense. That's why the cleaning lady came in every week to give the place a once-over. If the cleaning lady hadn't said my wife was hiding someone in the house and that she needed to call me right away, I wouldn't have known you were shacking up with your boyfriend here. He said the last bit with this look of total disgust. My face went bright red. I suddenly realized what he meant by hiding someone. It was my abs pillow. When I first moved in, the bed was way too big. It felt kinda lonely. So I bought this 6-foot body pillow with a sculpted six-pack. The abs felt so good. It was like a boyfriend, but without the drama. I'd be hugging it and feeling it up every night. Totally, content. I guess the cleaning lady saw the shape of it, all bundled in the blankets, and thought I had a guy in my room. I just scratched my head, not knowing what to say to this misunderstanding. The pillow was kinda embarrassing, you know? I did not want anyone to see it. So, long story short, me and the hot dude, whose name I learned was Sean, were now cohabitating. First, because my lease wasn't up. Second, because Sean just got back and had nowhere else to go. He sure wasn't going back to his parents, so he had to settle for the smaller bedroom. I felt terrible, like I should offer him the master bedroom. I said, hey, I can move out of the master. You should have it. He just gave me a death glare. I'm not sleeping in a room someone else has slept in. I shut my mouth, but muttered, but I've been here for months. Sean's hearing was great. He scoffed, I'm gonna sell it soon anyway. Once I buy a new place, I'm out. I went quiet. He was being forced to move out, because of me. That felt awful. After he moved in, I was on edge for a while. I didn't want to make him mad. What if he kicked me out? But after a month, I realized he was usually busy. We barely saw each other, even though we were living in the same house. I started relaxing a bit, forgetting he was there. I stopped closing my door when I left my room. Then, one weekend, Sean was home. He was coming out of the smaller bedroom, past my door, and his gaze landed on my abs pillow, spread out on the bed. He paused, looked at it for a few seconds, and said, "What is that thing?" I got all flustered. "Ah." Sean nodded to the pillow. "It's uniquely ugly. Matches you perfectly." I just stared at him. After that, I figured it was time for the pillow to cover up. It's not right, for all to see. I went ahead and bought a shirt for it. Now there was a step. I would have to lift the shirt to touch the abs. One night I went to take a shower and found my body wash was empty. I figured Sean wasn't around, so I wrapped a towel around myself and went to get a new one. Of course, Sean came back from the gym at that exact moment. I was still searching when he coughed and said, "Could you put some clothes on? Is this your house alone?" I was still looking for my body wash and mumbled, "Sorry, I don't know where I put the new one." I finally found it and turned around. He was still standing there, and he was a bright red. There were droplets of sweat on his face, and he was breathing heavily. He was completely flushed. Was he doing cardio? Why was he looking so hot? I didn't have time to think about it, and grabbed my body wash and rushed to the bathroom. After the shower, Mrs. Henderson came by. She had a pot of beer braised duck and said, "Fresh off the stove, come eat." Mrs. Henderson was a great cook. She always brought me food. I grabbed a bowl and went over. Sean wrinkled his nose. "Mom, I don't like duck." Mrs. Henderson snorted. "Who said this is for you? You don't get my personal cooking. Come here, baby, eat," she says, addressing me. Sean just rolled his eyes. Mrs. Henderson was smothering me, asking me if it was delicious. I was basically forced to eat the whole pot. It was good, but I was pretty buzzed. The last thing I saw was Mrs. Henderson slapped her forehead. "Oh shoot, I forgot you can't drink much. I put half a bottle of your uncle's good stuff." Oh boy. I went to sleep, ignoring my pillow. I woke up with a full bladder. I got up, stumbling around, looking for the bathroom. I started to go back, still asleep. I got in bed and yanked the blankets over me. I smelled a nice scent on my blankets. It wasn't my body wash. I snuggled in, burying my face, sniffing, and rubbing. Why were these blankets so nice? I snuggled in and went to my pillow, like always. It felt firmer, warmer, whatever. I was too dizzy to care. I lifted the pillow shirt and started touching the abs. They felt really good tonight. So firm, but soft, too. I haven't touched the real deal, but it felt the same as I always imagined. I closed my eyes and saw Sean's face. He'd have great abs. I touched them more and felt more awake. I started to touch him in other places. My hand landed on a weird lump. What part was that? Then, a voice above me, hushed and tight. "You done yet? I might be getting a reaction."